What's up, movie buffs? Welcome back to the comedy void. This time the color of the comedy void is yellow, which is what separates it from the sci-fi and horror voids. Today we're going over my personal list of top 50 comedy movies. Now this might be the last top 50 genre list I do, just because sci-fi and horror and comedies are really my favorite genres. I mean, you're not going to get me with a top 50 list of like romantic dramas, because that's not really my thing. But as with my previous lists, a few disclaimers here. These are not the only funny movies, and there are a ton more. And right now I'm realizing that I left off a bunch, like Wayne's World isn't on the list. So as with my horror list, I'm going to include a little honorable mentions section for the ones that didn't quite make the cut while I was editing this list together. The second disclaimer I need to mention is that I tried not to include movies that are part of other genres, just straight comedies, Like Coneheads, for instance, was on my top 50 list of sci-fi. I'm not going to put it on here, even though it's a very funny movie. Primarily it's a sci-fi movie, and I think it should be respected as such, but there are some very good, just pure comedy movies. So let's get right into it with the top 50 list, all time, my personal favorites of comedy. And remember, this is just my opinion. Have to get that out of the way. Just a disclaimer, because some people seem to think that I'm omnipotent or something, and that my opinion is law. Maybe it is. Who knows? Let's get right into it. This is the top 50 list of best comedy movies. At number 50, we have Mystery Men, an often overlooked Ben Stiller staple, a classic. This is, unlike Kick-Ass or Super, I think the only comedy that effectively makes fun of superheroes in an interesting way. People ask me all the time why I hate Watchmen and The Boys so much. I think those franchises are stupid, but Mystery Men is based off Flaming Carrot Comics, which is really a cool comic. I like it. Who doesn't like a good dose of Mystery Men? And of course, it birthed the best meme, just the best meme, Smash Mouth's All-Star, a song that for whatever reason is always associated with Shrek, even though the characters from Mystery Men literally appear in All-Star. Mystery Men is fantastic, and it needs to have its name put up in history where it belongs. So it's at number 50 on this list. At number 49, we have Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, Rob Schneider's best movie. Now, I am not one for not enjoying a celebrity after they've been canceled or whatever, and, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm okay, sometimes it's a whole thing. What cannot be denied, however, is that Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo is an undeniably funny movie, and I would be lying if I said there wasn't a time in the early 2000s where Rob Schneider was truly pulling out the hits. I think some of the sketches on SNL with him are like the best. Like, for instance, College Roommate. That one's an absolute classic. That one's amazing. Rob Schneider just proving here that despite his weird opinions and weird views and just being an all-around weirdo, I can't diss Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. It's a good, well-made movie, and I really can't say anything more about that. I mean, it's just good. So, yeah, at number 49. 48, we have Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused is a really great teen comedy. Unlike Clueless or The Breakfast Club, which really don't appeal to me any. I mean, I know there are some that swear by the John Hughes teen movies, but as for me, Dazed and Confused will always stand as pretty much the only teen comedy movie that really has something interesting to say, an interesting style, an interesting cinematography, and just an all-around great cast. I mean, this movie has the perfect cast from every angle. It started so many careers, easily as many as The Breakfast Club, and it's a more fun story. You got Parker Posey, you got Mila Jovovich, you got Matthew McConaughey, you got Ben Affleck. I'm not a fan of Ben Affleck, in case you didn't know, but Dazed and Confused is just really good. It's a pivotal 90s film. It's Gen X personified, back when teen movies had like a message and something to say, and they were good. So Got Dazed and Confused at number 48. At 47, we have Wag the Dog. I've talked about this one on an episode of VHS Crazy. Underrated stuff. Barry Levinson is just one of those directors who packs the heat. And Hetch is amazing as Winifred. Great stuff as Winifred. And Robert De Niro as Conrad Breen, and Dustin Hoffman as Stanley Motts. Really funny political comedy movie with, of course, a little appearance from Woody Harrelson. So that's all I'll say. If you want to hear more, go check out my review of Wag the Dog, or just watch Wag the Dog. Wag the Dog is a dang funny movie. Nothing more really needs to be said about it. At 46, we have Dodgeball, a true underdog story, one of those movies that you probably saw on DVD once in the early 2010s and then immediately forgot about, but Dodgeball, a true underdog story, is honestly pretty good. Ben Stiller as this crazy gym owner who, challenges these losers to a game of dodgeball. Might be one of the best sports comedy movies just because the premise is so patently absurd. Hey, let's play dodgeball. There are other kinds of these sports movies where it's like, hey, we're playing a really stupid sport that nobody cares about, like Balls of Fury, which is about ping pong, or there's a lot of them. They're kind of a whole subgenre, but I think Dodgeball is the best of the subgenre, and the painting of not Bruce Willis, Ben Stiller grabbing the bull by the horns, just so iconic, so good. One of his best roles. 45, we have Ghost World. I don't hear too many people talking about Ghost World, and that's a dang shame. I mean, you don't get to call yourself a fan of Scarlett Johansson if all you've seen her in is Black Widow. Ghost World, my gosh, what a fantastic movie. One of Steve Buscemi's just top leading performances, and the aesthetic of this film is fantastic. It looks like the comic it's based on. I like movies based on comics, especially movies not based on superhero comics, because superhero comics are kind of stupid. So it's nice to see a movie that tries to adapt a non-superhero comic. I think it really succeeds. This is an example of a criminally underrated movie. Ghost World is just like something else in terms of filmmaking, in terms of directing, in terms of adapting a comic book to the big screen. Check Ghost World out. At 44, we have Weekend at Bernie's. What a gosh dang memorable performance from Terry Kaiser. The best gosh dang guy to play a corpse you could ever lay eyes on. I think Weekend at Bernie's is a VHS rental classic. This thing sold like hotcakes on VHS, proving that there is such a thing as a VHS movie, a movie that doesn't do so well in theaters, but does do really well on VHS, because some movies are just better to watch on the small screen in the privacy of your own home late at night instead of on a big movie sound surround. Some movies are very small scale. Weekend at Bernie's is just a fun premise. It is delivered on. It carries it out perfectly. And the main duo, just what an iconic bunch. They're just two guys, and they're just way over their head, and they're just two young salesmen. Very 80s movie. It really captures the atmosphere of the 80s, all the beaches and the nightclubs and the apartments. It's very nostalgic. It's very classy. And once you spend a weekend at Bernie's, you'll never want to leave. Don't get me started on Weekend at Bernie's 2. That thing's not as good. But Weekend at Bernie's 1, oh yeah, you betcha. Weekend at Bernie's. Yeah. At 43, we have Raising Arizona, another movie I've done a VHS crazy on. Probably my favorite Coen Brothers movie. I mean, there's Fargo, there's Hail Caesar, there's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, but I think Raising Arizona does the best just as a comedy. Nick Cage, Holly Hunter, and John Goodman. This is one of the few times I really like John Goodman in a role. He really fits the role, and the diaper scene. It's just he's running down the street with oh man, it's great. Nick Cage, absolute legend. One of his best roles, Raising Arizona, and The Guy on the Bike, Arizona Furniture, classic. Raising Arizona, one heck of a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you don't know what you're missing. At 42, we have Party Girl with Parker Posey. I think Party Girl is better than her in Dazed and Confused. I think Party Girl is a darn... It's a staple of indie cinema. It's one of the greatest independent films ever made, definitely of the 90s. Parker Posey just proving that she has the chops to act. And it's wild that she's not in more stuff after incredible movies like Party Girl. Party Girl is a movie that's so 90s and at the same time so up to date. It's so up to speed. It feels like the kind of movie that knows where the changing times are headed, what the current climate is at, and despite being thoroughly a 1995 film, it does, you do identify with Parker Posey as she goes about her time as assistant librarian in New York. It's a fun movie. It's way better than a lot of other female-led comedies of the time, like Sex in the City or, Ally McBeal. Get out of here with that trash. Parker Posey is here with a bunch of nightclub scenes and gosh dang fun stuff going on. Also, the track Beautiful by the Tom Tom Club just makes this movie an instant classic. That song is a flipping banger, and I don't know why I keep listening to it again and again. You don't even know who I am. Boo, boo, boo. Such good bass. What a party. Party Girl at number 42. Number 41, we have another movie I think is criminally underrated, that being Mouse Hunt with Nathan Lane and Lee Evans, a family-friendly entry here on the list, because of course it's produced during the early years of DreamWorks. I remember seeing previews for really early DreamWorks movies on VHS, like Polly, which was about a parrot. I remember that, but Mouse Hunt is the one that's always stuck out to me as characteristically early DreamWorks, before, back when DreamWorks was pumping out the hits. Probably the best role of Nathan Lane's career. His voice just lends itself really well to this character. I mean, God, the style of this movie, the stunts, the mishaps and the misfortunes and all the prop work, I mean, it's just a visual spectacle to see Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. I've also talked about this once, I think, but the anachronistic setting of Mouse Hunt is something I think more movies should take inspiration from, because Mouse Hunt could literally take place any decade between the 1950s and 1990s, and as a result, it never feels dated, which I think is a very impressive feat to pull off. So, kudos to Mouse Hunt for just having a very cool style for what is essentially a kid's film, but Mouse Hunt is just really fun, and the mouse traps and the vacuum bag full of shit. It's just a romp. Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. Alright, yeah, Mouse Hunt. Yeah. At 40, we have Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. Pretty low down here on the list. I think Austin Powers is not the best spoof ever made, but definitely it's better than any James Bond movie, because James Bond movies lack that critical type of self-awareness that Austin Powers just nails. But you can also tell at the same time that Mike Myers is intimately familiar with the 60s spy genre, and as a Canadian he's about to bring this British drivel down to its knees. I find that really interesting, that Mike Myers is Canadian and just completely blasts this entire genre. It's a symptom of 60s nostalgia, which was going on heavy in the 90s. Obviously, you have stuff like, Beck was big right then. You don't see too much 60s nostalgia anymore, but during the 90s it was a big wave, and Austin Powers capitalized on that, while also providing just a really fun story about Austin Powers and his battle with Dr. Evil. Obviously, Spyro Shaggy and Goldmember aren't on here, but International Man of Mystery is a really, really funny movie, and I don't know. I'd go as far as to say it's better than a Wayne's World, just because, Mike Myers in this is just kinetic. You can just feel his enthusiasm about it. Also, Quincy Jones, Soul Bossa Nova. Come on, that thing's a jam. At 39, we have Clue. Clue is underrated. Why aren't more people talking about Clue? In recent years, it seems to have made kind of a comeback as a bit of a meme. I've seen some YouTube videos which use the "here's how it could have happened" and "here's how it really happened" end card, which is fun. But like, seriously, Clue needs to be respected as what it is. Like, the best board game adaptation ever made. Everyone's talking about how Michael Bay's Battleship is bad. You know, everyone's talking about how there was going to be a Ridley Scott Monopoly movie for a while. But Clue needs to get credit. It's the best board game adaptation ever. Christopher Lloyd just is amazing in this. This is one of his best roles, aside from like Back to the Future. And Mr. Green, man, the Mr. Green bit and Colonel Mustard, and you've got the maid, and it's a fun time. Spend a night at the Clue Mystery Mansion and just, you know, let your board game passion just leak out. You know, it's just, oh man, and Mr. Body is just something else. The cast brings these classic board game characters to life in a way that, yeah, no movie ever has before or since. Clue is, excellent. I know I said I wasn't going to do genre movies. Technically, Clue is both a mystery and a comedy, but I mean, the singing telegram girl, everyone in the cast is like spot on to make this the best adaptation of a board game ever, and more people need to know this is a thing. Clue, based on the freaking board game. Yeah. At number 38, we have The Waterboy. I think The Waterboy is just kind of a really heartfelt Adam Sandler joint. There's 3 Adam Sandlers on this list. Oddly enough, I didn't put Billy Madison or Happy Gilmore on just because I'm not as familiar with those two, but I have seen The Waterboy, and The Waterboy, you know, this is just my personal list of like what I've seen and familiar with. I think The Waterboy is a lot of fun. It gives a lot of praise and admiration to that great position of football, the guy who comes out and dumps the water on the players who've passed out. Bobby Boucher, just what a memorable performance from Mr. Snadler as he brings that heat. I've said it before, and I will say it again. Adam Snadler is one of the great comedic legends living today. He deserves complete respect for the comedic masterpieces he has starred in. The Waterboy, incredible. Check it out. Moving on to number 37, we have Bread and Chocolate, a quaint little Italian film dealing with the hardships of a Swiss immigrant as he, just navigates the differences between Swiss and Italian life. I think the mid-2000s werewolf movie Blood and Chocolate kind of takes its name from Bread and Chocolate, but Bread and Chocolate is just a comedy about a guy who has to spend some time in a chicken coop. It's pretty wacky and funny, and it's a classic fish out of water story. So if you're looking for some foreign stuff, Bread and Chocolate's where it's at. Really fun comedy overall. At number 36, we have, again, underrated movie, The Imposters with Tucci and Platt. This is one of the most faithful homages to the screwball comedy genre I think I've ever seen. Tucci and Platt are absolutely phenomenal as these bunglers who end up on a cruise ship full of crazy people. And boy, oh boy, does it go over well. I mean, I think Tucci and Platt should be remembered as well as like Laurel and Hardy for this stuff, because it's just, ooh yeah, The Imposters. Just what a fantastic piece. And just an example that, like, back in the 90s, there's so many movies that nobody knows about, but The Imposters is amazing. It's so good. Check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. Really dope. At 35, we have The President's Analyst with James Coburn. There aren't too many 60s comedies on this list, oddly enough. Maybe it's just that the 60s were kind of a turbulent decade politically. Also, SNL didn't exist yet, so yeah, overall, not a very funny decade, but The President's Analyst is a good example of the kind of weird humor that was going on in the late 60s. It's about telephone surveillance, which is like crazy ahead of its time, and it's much funnier and more topical than something like Black Mirror, but with Charlie Brooker. You know, what a smug moron. Presence Analyst is where it's at. Funny movie, great cartoon, great set piece. I love the UFO and the hippies, the part with the hippies and Snow White, and oh my gosh, it's just fun. A Presence Analyst, more people need to know about. Really, more people do. It's the best. It's one of the best, like, 60s counterculture comedies. You know, just like worrying about the state of the world. It was a different time back then, man. At 34, we have The Groove Tube. Now, of course, I consider Kentucky Fried Movie, Amazon Women from the Moon, and The Groove Tube is kind of a loose trilogy in that, you know, they share some actors and staff, and they're all sketch comedy movies, meaning they're not comedy movies, really. They're like comedy anthology movies, which is weird to think about. I think Amazon Women from the Moon is the weakest of the trilogy, so it's not on this list, but I think The Groove Tube is different from the Kentucky Fried Movie in that it's very low budget. It's an independent film. It was made on practically nothing, and it has Chevy Chase before he was, like, well known. The Groove Tube is a lot raunchier than the Kentucky Fried Movie, so if you've seen the Kentucky Fried Movie and you think The Groove Tube is going to be similar, I mean, The Groove Tube is kind of more edgy. It's a lot of that 70s, you know, trying to be as risque as possible, you know, and all that. But I think it does rude humor really well, unlike Family Guy or fucking Rick and Morty. Miss me with that shit. Check out The Groove Tube. Just because, like, yeah, sure, it's vulgar and stuff, but, like, it has a point, and the filmmakers are trying to do something cool and, like, actually create, you know, art. So, like, yeah, The Groove Tube. At number 34, not as good as a Kentucky Fried Movie, but better than Amazon Women, because, like, it's an independent, you know, weird, experimental thing, and it's like good for it's good for an independent movie. It's good for an experimental movie. It's pretty weird, but it's fun. So, at 33, we have National Lampoon's Vacation. Now, National Lampoon's Vacation is, of course, I think, the best National Lampoon movie. Better than Animal House. I really don't like Animal House that much. In fact, I consider Animal House such a cliche college movie, it's practically part of the inspiration for College Buddies. Just because, like, a bunch of dipshits at college doing dipshit things, you know, that's not that interesting. Whereas Chevy Chase and his family, you know, trying to head to Wally World, and it eludes them, it confounds them, man. Wally World is the golden treasure at the end of the rainbow, and Chev Chase just has to get it. Their car is iconic. It's so relatable. It's an example of relatable comedy done right, because you're like, dang, you know, this vacation stuff isn't all it's cracked up to be. Taking a vacation can go pretty wacky. Yeah, National Lampoon's Vacation. Also, I'm not including, like, seasonal movies like Home Alone or Christmas Vacation on here, Jingle All the Way. You know, those are funny, really funny comedies, but not on here, because I just want, you know, straight comedies. That's all. But National Lampoon's Vacation, good stuff. One of Chevy Chase's best. At 32, we have What About Bob? Classic. Richard Dreyfuss, Bill Murray. Just a great pairing. Richard Dreyfuss and Bill Murray play off each other so well. You really feel sorry for Richard Dreyfuss. You also really feel sorry for Bill Murray. Ultimately, neither of them end up being like the butt of the joke, because they're both such sympathetic characters, and by the end you're like, dang, you know, everyone just needs to settle down, because, like, oh man, Richard Dreyfuss, he's a good comedic actor. He's not just in, you know, Close Encounters and Jaws. He is awesome in What About Bob? Fun stuff. What About, and Bill Murray, you know, just, yeah, spot on. At 31, we have Car Wash, a rare slice of life 70s movie, glimpse into the real urban grit of the 70s. Of course, the best part is George Carlin playing the foul-mouthed cab driver. Also, we got, you know, just this entire cast of Fellas at a Car Wash. I remember picking this up at a garage sale on VHS, and I never regretted it. It is a fantastic movie, really good stuff, as you just follow this ordinary day at what seems like a normal job. But when you think about it, I mean, car washes are pretty cool, and I don't know, it's just something's cool about checking out what goes on down at the car wash, you know, peering into the lives of these car wash employees as they do their thing, and yeah, just really fun stuff, and one of the best comedies of the 70s. 3, we got La Strada, Fellini's absolute classic with Richard Basehart, and you know, the girl in this is like the female Charlie Chaplin. She's so funny. Just the physical comedy and the plot about Zampano and, you know, La Strada. It's just a funny, gosh dang movie. Really good example of a foreign film that will appeal to everyone. Everyone should like La Strada. It's just a gosh dang appealing movie. So, yeah, La Strada. Awesome stuff. I highly recommend it. I got to see it in a movie theater, and it's a really fun movie. It's the cinematography's obviously there, that very European style of filmmaking, in particular Italian, and yeah, the makeup on her is really good too. I love the tightrope scene. Everything's fun about it. La Strada, what a jam. At number 29, we have Zoolander, just an absolute classic with Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson and Will Ferrell as Mufasa, or Mufasa, or whatever his name is. I think Ben Stiller is one of those actors who never gets old in his delivery, his persona that he puts on. Zoolander is just such a fun character to look at and follow, and his mannerisms and the way he sees the world. It's honestly something to behold. And of course, that's why Ben Stiller won an Emmy for his Ben Stiller Show, which to this day is one of the most underrated sketch comedy shows ever made. Good stuff. I like Zoolander. Zoolander 2, whole different story. For whatever reason, a lot of comedy sequels kind of were thin, like Anchorman 2. Dumb and Dumber 2 is awesome, but, you know, so it goes. Anyway, Zoolander is just like, oh, the mermaid bit. Fun. It's very early 2000s. It's very immature, but you know, Zoolander, such a fun character. At 28, we have Big Top Pee-wee. In my opinion, it's a good Pee-wee movie, and also Tim Burton isn't directing it, so it's just like pure Paul Rubens. You know, just his vision. He's able to craft it from scratch, and I don't know. I mean, it's way too forgotten for being like such a. I mean, Paul Rubens just has an infectious energy. He just lights up the screen, and the bit where they're kissing by the waterfall. I mean, and you have him doing like a trumpet imitation over that. All the sideshow guys look awesome. The Siamese twins and the bearded lady, and you know, it's just good fun all around. Everyone likes a good old circus. I mean, it's kind of disturbing that like Pee-wee like de-ages this entire town overnight, but dang if it's not a fun movie. I mean, Big Top Pee-wee, you know, what more could you really ask for? At 27, we have Three Amigos, yet another movie I've done a VHS crazy review on. Steve Martin Short, and Chevy Chase. They are the three amigos here to save the day for El Guapo as he terrorizes this small Mexican villa, and they gotta save the day with their impeccable good taste and gentlemanly charm, and it's just a wallop of incredibleness as these three legends just ride out on the trail and go, "Aw, yeah, we're the Three Amigos, and amigos forever will be." That's number 27, Three Amigos. At 26, we have the J. Roach joint, another movie I've done a review on, Meet the Parents, with Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro, and Owen Wilson. Who would have thought? Absolutely one of the funniest movies of the 2000s. Yeah, it's 2000s, right? Yeah. 2000, right? Yeah. Robert De Niro is, oh my gosh, George Burns. Jinxie, what a pairing. What an absolute spectacle as that entire hoppa just gets lit on fire and the entire wedding is coated in sewage. And yeah, this is the ultimate in-law film. Don't forget it. Meet the Parents is a funny movie. It's a classic at this point. At 25, we have Safety Last with Harold Lloyd. So much about this movie, and again, I'm not including too many older movies on this list, but I gotta put Safety Last on, just because, like, everyone knows it for the clock scene, but there's so much else here that just has come to define the modern comedy. So many revolutionary techniques, and the bit where Harold Lloyd pretends to be his boss. Oh my gosh, that thing cracked me up. Yeah, Safety Last. You need to watch it. It's required. You can't not watch Safety Last. You just can't. It's too funny. It's too funny, and it's relatable. Somehow, the experience of a department store worker still as relatable as ever. Man, this shit's relatable. I don't know what else to say. Really good. I can see why Harold Lloyd, everyone talks about him as, this great, but Safety Last, really good. At 24, we have Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Man, oh man, is Overboard just one of those movies that you wish it got a sequel. It got a really shitty remake a couple years back, but nothing matches just the natural chemistry and appeal of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. What a pairing, They obviously have so much going for them. I mean, Goldie Hawn in this, she's just phenomenal. Just amazing. And Kurt Russell, miniature golf set and the whole, misunderstanding on the news. Just, what a cool movie. Just what a fun premise, what a fun plot. It really goes all the way here. It goes overboard, you could say. Hence the title, Overboard. It goes overboard. Yeah, pretty much. At 23 here, we have Tommy Boy. Chris Farley is one of those comedians who, like Robin Williams, I always hear people say, it's such a shame he died, he was so talented. Unlike Robin Williams, though, Chris Farley was actually in some gutbusters. I find it hard to believe that he's only in one other movie, Black Sheep with David Spade, because they are such an excellent duo, and the guy who plays Tommy's stepbrother in this, just what a great antagonist. He's so hateable. Also, we got that iconic performance from Dan Aykroyd as Zelinsky, the auto parts king, and who could forget the bit where the door rips off and Bambi wakes up, and oh my gosh, the cars are on fire, man. Tommy Boy. I go so far as to say this is hands down Chris Farley's best film role. I mean, Tommy is just such a likable protagonist. You want to see him succeed out there on the road of life. And David Spade, the eternal cynic, just following along and discouraging him and being like, "You suck, Tommy." And Tommy's like, "Dang, I guess I do suck." Self-deprecating humor at its finest. Tommy is a lovable buffoon, and you should watch Tommy Boy if you haven't seen it. It's amazing. It's really good. At 22, we have It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Now, of course, some people might get upset at me for not putting this higher, but I think Mad, 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 Mad World isn't like the funniest movie. It is technically ambitious. It is impressive in scope and scale, and it's a veritable who's who of really funny old comedians. Dorothy Provine, Sid Caesar. You got the Three Stooges. You got Jerry Lewis in here, and of course you have Mr. Howell himself, Jim Backus, and Push the Button Mark Booze and all of that. And it's just so many sight gags, so much going on at once. It is a truly grand movie. It is the kind of comedy that just stretches way out beyond what you would think a movie is capable of displaying, especially a movie like from the 60s. This movie has so many awesome special effects and wrecks and just, oh my gosh, it's a world of fun. Not to mention the awesome, opening sequence by Saul Bass, that cool animation. Yeah, it is a mad, 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 mad. How many ever mads there are? It's a good good deal. It's a good deal. Yeah, classic. I can't get enough of this movie. It's entertaining. It's just 3 straight hours of like, give me 29 flavors or however many that is. Yeah. At 21, we have Throw Mama from the Train with Billy Crystal, Danny DeVito. Kate Mulgrew also gives a stunning, captivating performance here and shows that she has the chops to be really, really funny given the right circumstances. The actress who plays Mama in this got a lot of awards for it, which she absolutely deserves. It's some of the finest character acting you're ever likely to see. I also like Throw Mama from the Train because, much like the Last Action Hero, which is actually, I didn't put that on this list because it's technically kind of an action movie in addition to being a comedy. It asks the question, what if you were put in a movie scenario? What would you do? Would you behave more realistically or in a more interesting way than characters in a movie? And Throw Mama from the Train does this with strangers on a train. And you always wonder, like, what would have happened if he had accepted Bruno's offer of trading murders? What would have happened? And while Billy Crystal is kind of reluctant about the idea, he is kind of like, well, shit, I don't like my wife. So it's just a really fun, dark spin on a Hitchcock classic. And Danny DeVito, one of his best roles. He's so fun to watch in this, especially the trombone bit. Man, Throw Mama from the Train, excellent stuff. Billy Crystal just completely sells it as this guy who's like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into, Classic, good stuff all around. 20, we have Little Nicky. This is yet another Adam Sandler fest. I put it on here just because I like Harvey Keitel, I like Rodney Dangerfield. What else can I say? It's got, some bangers on the soundtrack. Highway to Hell, School of Hard Knocks, I think, is there's a music video for it, at least at the end of my VHS copy. And, fun, probably the best movie that's ever going to be made about hell. That shameless product placement is always from Adam Sandler, and really fun. I like Nicky's haircut. It's combed over, it gives a very fun demonic appearance. It has such a twisted sense of humor. Little Nicky is some emo shit, but it's the kind of emo shit I think we can all get behind. Let's be honest here. It's Adam Sandler, so yeah. At 19, we have Kids in the Hall Brain Candy. I find it crazy to think that there's a whole Canadian counterpart to SNL, but some of the sketches on Kids in the Hall are pretty funny, and it is absolutely fantastic and weirdly awesome to see the Canadian SNL get its own movie. That's so wacky, but against all odds, it's a really fun movie with a really interesting premise, a theme song that's just a banger, and Kids in the Hall. It's fun stuff. It's underrated, as most Canadian things are, but then again, SNL has a bunch of Canadians on it, so who can say really? The Canadian influence reaches deep. Kids in the Hall Brain Candy at number 19. At 18, we got The Naked Gun. Frank Drebin and Priscilla Presley, and we got OJ. We got the Juice in here. So weird to see him in a movie, but the other two are also really good. Don't get me wrong, but the first one, oh my gosh, Leslie Nielsen performance of a lifetime, baby. Frank frickin' Drebin, am I right? Oh yeah, what a character, what a great adaptation of Police Squad. Everyone's sad about Police Squad getting canceled prematurely. True, doesn't have enough episodes. Would have been fun if it went on longer, but hey, we got The Naked Gun out of it. And it's such a good movie. It's so good. And I said I wasn't going to do comedy and genre movies. Naked Gun is technically also a cop movie. But who are you kidding? It's just a comedy. It's just a funny... And Ricardo Montalban, yeah, he's in the first one. One of the best roles of his career. He was born to play this, scheming trickster who's also, kind of elderly like Leslie Nielsen. But they just... Man, what an antagonist. Fantastic. I can't... It's really good. Naked Gun. At 17, we have possibly the most underrated SNL movie. I'm glad I didn't put Wayne's World on the list, because It's Pat is such a good SNL movie. Like, first I heard about Pat the character, and then I realized, oh my gosh, there's an entire, like, Pat movie. Pat and Chris. This is a really romantic and heartfelt story about Pat and their struggles as everyone wonders, what gender is Pat? And of course we have the iconic performance from Ween, and Pat playing the tuba for Ween. It's so 90s, it's so wacky, I just can't get enough of it. Obviously now there are non-binary people and whatnot, but I think if you watch It's Pat through like a political lens, it's kind of like, it's just not worth it. Like, Pat is funny because you don't know what gender Pat is, but Pat is also just like a really well done character, because the joke is that everyone wonders what gender Pat is, and Pat is just like going through life, just trying to have, a fun existence with Chris, and it's not offensive. It's a really fun, I'd even go so far as to say in some ways it's ahead of its time, because it kind of presents gender fluidity. Some people might say, oh, it's making fun of that, but I just think it's about self-acceptance and, oh, it's Pat. Who cares what gender Pat is? It's never revealed through the whole movie, so Pat's whatever gender Pat wants to be. I like It's Pat. I do. It's possibly, maybe, like, it's one of the best SNL movies. Just for, like, its nuance, its hilarious jokes. It has so many iconic scenes, and the password. What's the password to Pat's online journal? Just fun stuff all around. It's Pat. At 17, I can't put it any lower on the list. At 16, we have the Kentucky Fried Movie. The best of the sketch comedy movies, I think. There's so much to like about the Kentucky Fried Movie. Started off so many careers, directed and acted and just performed magnificently. There's so many fun sketches in this, especially the Fistful of Yin bit. That's a really funny martial arts parody that, unlike a Quentin Tarantino movie, which is lame, a Fistful of Yin is like really funny. And everything in the Kentucky Fried Movie is really funny. It's Kentucky Fried, golden brown and crispy, and just the best, funniest Kentucky Fried, golden fried, deep fried, double batter delight. It's going to give you a cardiac arrest of comedy, let me tell you. Watch it if you haven't seen it. You'll wonder why you hadn't seen it sooner. At 15, we have Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, with Will Ferrell. This is, I think, Will Ferrell's best movie. There will never be another Will Ferrell character as cool and fun to look at and listen to and watch than Ron Burgundy. Classic 70s, suave, smooth-talking 70s a newscaster just coming at San Diego with the flippin' facts and the flippin' news. Man, this movie makes news more fun than news has any right to be. The jazz flute, the Tom Jones bit where it's animated and they're going to Pleasure Land or Pleasure Dream or whatever you call it. It's just, Anchorman is something else. It's another level of, like, taking a concept, kind of a stupid concept, kind of a stupid idea, and just saying, like, let's take this to the limit. Let's just do this until, like, it can't be done anymore. Like, let's just exhaust it. Maybe that's why Anchorman 2 feels so, like, hollow and, like, doesn't have the same punch, because, like, Anchorman 1 does everything. It literally does everything that there is to do with the premise. But Ron Burgundy, oh my gosh, phenomenal. At 14, this is the last Adam Sandler movie on the list. We have Jack and Jill. I know, you're thinking, why didn't I put Happy Gilmore on the list, or Billy Madison, or those movies that people like? Because I haven't seen them. Alright, I'm coming clean. I've never seen Billy Gilmore or Happy Madison or whatever it is, I like Jack and Jill. I just do, because I saw it on theaters at a young age. I was impressionable, and this movie lives rent-free in my brain. Dunkachino, man. Go to the supermarket, because it's so gosh dang cold in there, and it'll wake you up, and it'll keep you awake. And the freaking, I like Jill. She's so fun to follow. Adam Sandler needs to be in drag more, because he's so good at playing an annoying female version of Adam Sandler. It's fantastic. This is Al Pacino's, not one of his best roles, but he's in it, and he delivers, and he's so gosh dang funny. I don't know what else to say, really, other than that, Jack and Jill is awesome. And if you hate on Jack and Jill, it means you don't know what fun is. So, screw off, huh? How about that? At 13, we have Kingpin with Woody Harrelson. This is Woody Harrelson's best movie. Before he became cringe in Zombieland and Dawn of the Rise of the Start of the Planet of the Apes, Woody Harrelson was actually a respectable comedian starring in some really funny movies. Kingpin is a lot like Dodgeball in that it's about a really stupid sport nobody cares about, but it is a faithful, bowling movie. If you're into bowling, this is the best movie about bowling. It's really like an underdog story about, you have a dream to become the best bowler, and Bill Murray. Normally you think of Bill Murray, you're like, I like Bill Murray. He's such an asshole in this, but he's so good at playing an asshole. You really don't like Bill Murray. Yeah, this movie's bittersweet. It has a really, really harsh ending, but it just goes to show that, you can enjoy life even though your life is kind of in the gutter. It's kind of a gutter ball. You can have fun, and it's not so much about the destination. It's about the journey and the friends you make along the way. I saw this really young on VHS, and it just left. I remember this movie. It's seared into my memories. It's just such a fun, crazy, and the Amish part, obviously. The talk about the Amish community and how Woody Harrelson has trouble adapting to that and everything. And bowling is just. This is the ultimate bowling movie. What else needs to be said? Farrelly Bros movie always comes in hot with the comedic excellence, as it were. At 12, we have The Great Dictator, which I think is Charlie Chaplin's best movie. There's so many. There's Modern Times, there's The Kid, there's The Circus, there's The Gold Rush. At the end of the day, I gotta hand it to The Great Dictator. It's a topical film. It's very close to Chaplin personally, but it's a very poignant comedy. It's the kind of comedy that after you watch it, you don't laugh so much as you come away with a different understanding of the world. It moves you and shapes you and moves and shakes you in all sorts of ways. And The Great Dictator is one of those movies that proves that comedy is a very potent tool for dealing with stupid people, I guess you could say. It's a movie about contemporary times and contemporary problems, and Charlie Chaplin gives his all in an incredible dual performance as two characters. I won't say much more than that, but absolutely great. 11, we have Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I think the best Pee-wee movie, just because Tim Burton's style and Paul Rubens' wacky sense of prop comedy just kind of click, Pee-wee's Big Adventure has a lot of fun stuff. Large Marge, you got the creepy bicycle clown, you just got so many Pee-wee staples, a big dinosaur and the flippin', giant swimming pool that Francis has. Francis is really fun. Such a good antagonist, doesn't get enough credit. All the wacky stuff that happens to Pee-wee along his nationwide journey. This is what happens when Tim Burton makes a road trip movie. But I think a lot more credit needs to be given to Paul Rubens. This is his, magnum opus. This is his spectacle. I think Pee-wee's Playhouse has a much better aesthetic that fits Paul Rubens better, personally. Pee-wee's Playhouse, obviously, you know, the theme song by Devo and the set design and props and everything. Fantastic. It's a great looking show, but I think Pee-wee's Big Adventure needs to be given credit just because, like, that breakfast machine, man, that looks fun. At 10, we have One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I would put this higher on the list, but I'm trying to judge these on how funny they are as well as how good they are, so, you know, some might not consider it a comedy, but I think it's pretty funny at points, and, yeah, it's funny sometimes. A lot of the time, actually, it makes you laugh, it makes you... You know, it's a drama, it's a comedy, it's a psychological thing. You know, it's all sorts of things. It's a real, like, poignant piece. But I think it deserves a spot on this list. So here you go, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, not much more needs to be said about it. It is a darn good movie. At 9, we have Hot Rod, the Lonely Island movie, the definitive Lonely Island movie. Back when the Lonely Island was actually committed to surrealism and the best kind of postmodern, meta-ironic surrealism imaginable. You know, Pop Star's not on this list just because I think it's too far down the road. The Lonely Island isn't really good anymore, but when they were in their prime, in 2000s, Hot Rod, oh my gosh, what a funny flippin' movie. Bill Hader, Andy Samberg, and you have Sissy Spacek as this mom who's just completely, like, playing it straight. It's amazing. Sissy Spacek's just like, okay, go hop over these 12 school buses, and oh my gosh, Andy Samberg is Hot Rod. It's so much fun. This is yet another example of a real sleeper hit. I think Hot Rod needs no introduction, no explanation. It is what it is. It's the Lonely Island set loose and doing their mad magic over just this story about a dumb, idiot, stupid stunt biker doing dumb, stupid, idiot, stunt biker stuff. So much fun. Oh my gosh, Bill Hader. So good. Hot Rod. At number 8, we have There's Something About Mary. I think the Farrelly Bros' best movie, or almost. There's one more, but Something About Mary strikes a chord in a way I think a lot of other 90s comedies don't. First and foremost, it has a very talented cast. It's got Cameron Diaz, Ben Stiller, Chris Elliott, Lee Evans as Tucker, and so many funny moments. There's so many scenes, like every single scene is memorable in its own way. You remember it, and it just sticks around with you because it's so gosh dang, like, immature and stupid, but it does what a lot of movies have tried to do and failed. It is the ultimate romantic comedy. It's not sappy, it's not stupid, it's not all sweet and heartfelt. It talks about how, you know, romance can suck and getting dumped can suck, and the whole thing is just kind of messed up. And oh my gosh, Ben Stiller, best role of his career, hands down. Something About Mary. And this goes to show why the Farrelly Bros are just like aces at their game, respected names in comedy, because Something About Mary is just like, oh my gosh, it's so funny. Just like Cameron Diaz, she's so good in this. It's so good. It's a really funny movie. At 7, we have Airplane. Yeah, it's quite a ways up from The Naked Gun, just because I feel like, in general, you know, Airplane has Leslie Nielsen, plus a whole entire other cast of incredibly funny people and jokes, and just like, there's another joke every 5 seconds, and it adheres to the type of movie it's spoofing so well that you barely even, like, notice, and that it is a spoof, because the jokes are so well, they're so well integrated into the story, and like, it's another example of the sequel not being as good, because Airplane 2 is not as good, but Airplane 1, oh yeah, Airplane 1 is like fantastic. It's so funny. Don't Call Me Shirley, heck yes, it is a funny comedy, and you should watch it right away. At 6, we have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Yes, I'm putting this above Airplane because Steve Martin, John Candy. Need I say more? The ultimate Thanksgiving movie. The soundtrack's a blast. This is one of the most incredible movies in terms of like how it got made, how it came to fruition, and John Hughes's venture into like mature comedies. None of that Breakfast Club bullshit. We're talking Steve Martin, just a guy in a cruel, unforgiving world as he deals with Del Griffith's good-natured tomfoolery and shower ring shenanigans, and oh wowie zowie wowie is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles just an instant classic that everyone should see. It's really, really good. It's a funny movie. Moving on. 5, we have Dumb and Dumber. This is the Farrelly Bros' best movie. Also, Jim Carrey. Lloyd Christmas is one of those characters who I think you instantly recognize. Dumb and Dumber manages to do what very few movies do, and that's make you care about two characters an incredible amount in only like 10 minutes. In the first 10 minutes, you already know who Harry and Lloyd are, what their entire deal is, and why you should care. And from there, it's just on the road, and they're just going around in their flippin' dog van and picking up hitchhikers and making the most annoying sound in the world and flippin' getting beaten up in gas station bathrooms. Just a good old time all around. And Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels, what an incredible comedy. What an influential comedy for the 90s. It's a staple. It's a gosh dang treat. Jim Carrey at his prime. This is just Dumb and Dumber. I can't say that there are too many more comedies that are like much funnier than this, but there are 4. So, final 4. At 4, we have Private Benjamin with Goldie Hawn. The best role of her career. She is an absolute, like one of the funniest female comedians of all time. Absolutely, like, this is such a funny movie on so many levels. It's so deep, it's so nuanced, it's so well written. The script is just like amazing. It talks about how the army tricks people and bullshits people into thinking like, oh, if I join the army, it's gonna be like a hotel. It's gonna be like a foreign trip to Italy, and then she gets there, and it's like hell for her, and her opposition with the drill sergeant is just fantastic. It's a lot like Gomer Pyle USMC, but it really improves on the idea and the dynamic between the upstart and the sergeant and everything, and really great stuff. Goldie Hawn's best movie by far. She's really, really unbelievably funny. Like, she is another level of humor, and it's so good. I can't get enough of it. At number 3, we have the Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, and or is it Jim Belushi? No, John Belushi, right? Yeah. Gosh dang, I always get those two mixed up. I don't know why. But Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, playing 2 brothers who like blues. It's a very somber movie. It's a very deep movie. The intro shot with like Dan Aykroyd, and he's going to the prison, or maybe it's vice versa. I forget who's in prison. I think Dan's the one out of prison, but. The opening shot at the jail is it's a slow build up, and then you just see these guys getting together, and like, oh my gosh, they are going to go on a blues themed adventure of a lifetime. It's proof that like even the stupidest characters can become like iconic and memorable, and you just can't get enough of them. Like, the Blues Brothers were invented as a joke. Like, they just come out on SNL, they just do a funny dance and look stupid, because blues is stupid, right? But, like, they have such dedication to blues that it's, like, impossible to ignore just, like, the musical and physical comedy inherent in this. It's about 2 guys who are just, like, kind of trying to figure where they fit in things and how things are going to go down. It's about missed opportunities, I think, kind of. You know, these two guys, they're past their prime. They're really trying to patch things up as it goes. And this is the best SNL movie just because it's a really good movie on a lot of levels, not just as a comedy, but as like a movie. It's very deep, and the cameos from the actual blues musicians, the legends of blues, are great. Cab Calloway and his performance of Minnie the Moocher, like, this guy is like really old, but he's still just giving it his all for this incredible movie. It's like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And the Blues Brothers, just iconic. The Bluesmobile, the flippin' hats and the flippin' shades, and oh my gosh, they're just so cool. They just emanate coolness and blues power, and just like, oh my gosh, you know, Blues Kings. At number 2, we have Caddyshack. I don't think I need to say too much about Caddyshack other than that it is so good. Bill Murray, Rodney Dangerfield, Chev Chase, just and Ted Knight, you know, just like 4 incredible talents. One movie about golf. You wouldn't think a movie about golf could reach the absolute levels of hilarity and unrestrained, you know, irreverence that Caddyshack does, but Caddyshack completely disrupts the social order. It is a movie about chaos and mayhem taking place in the hill-crested country clubs. You know, it's about being offensive and challenging the norm, and I think that's an important thing for a comedy to pull off. It is incredibly funny, and it should be remembered as one of the movies that changed comedy pretty much forever. It's a definitive classic. It is an absolute gold mine of memes and like classic lines, and just, oh man, that wacky Gophers at it again. It's so fun. Number 1, you probably saw this coming because it wasn't on the list before now. The Cable Guy. I would feel dishonest if I didn't put The Cable Guy at the top. Jim Carrey, this is his best movie. And to think that some people are like, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is actually Jim Carrey's best movie, or The Truman Show is amazing. You know, those are shit. Like, Jim Carrey has some duds in his career, but The Cable Guy, oh my gosh, this movie is underrated. This movie is funny as hell. It has Matthew Broderick. It has Jack Black. It's directed by Ben Stiller. It has Janine Garofalo, Andy Dick, Bob Odenkirk. It's an amazing movie. It is a fundamentally, like, transcendent experience to watch Chip Douglas belt his heart out of Jefferson Airplane on the karaoke floor as his voice warbles and cracks, and oh my god, Jim Carrey is just giving it his all. It's a frenetic experience. It's a contemporary, like, it's so 90s, and at the same time it's so relevant to our age of digitality and, you know, all that. And it's just a phenomenal piece of art that I think should go in a gosh dang museum. I would feel cheap if I didn't put Cable Guy at number 1. So here's looking at you, Chip. Oh yeah, Cable Guy. Just a excellent movie. Just fantastic. So yeah, that's my list of top 50 comedies. Like I said, there's a lot of ones that didn't quite make the cut for whatever reason, but I tried and put them on the honorable mentions, and yeah, check these out. A lot of them are really underrated, more so than in my sci-fi or horror list, because I feel like, unlike with sci-fi and horror, there's so many comedy movies that for whatever reason don't quite tickle someone's funny bone, because you know what they say, comedy is subjective, so some people are likely to find some things more funny than others. I think a lot of these are like underrated classics, so hopefully I was able to shed some light on some movies some of you might not have known about, while also, you know, hopefully bringing up the tried and true good ones. And yeah, that's going to do it for this exciting top 50 list. That's my top 50 comedies. Pretty nifty. If you like what you saw, then Write to Nicholas Cicada, 1424 Columbine Street, number 1, Denver, Colorado 80206, and check out some of my comics and buy some Nicholas comics already. Let's do it. Let's get those orders sent in. Until next time, yeah, this might be the last genre list I do, but I think it's good to just compile my thoughts on all these and rank them for future reference. That said, sayonara, suckers.